Alright guys, so let's see just how all over the place this episode's actually going to be. Y'all hang tight just a second.
T-bone roars like a thunderstorm blast. Engine growling as the trees rush past. Wheels on fire carve the mountain's face. The legend rides with a reckless grace. T-bone shadow cuts the sky through the peaks where...
Alright guys, I'm not exactly sure what all is going to be in this video or what all this video is going to entail, but you guys in the comment sections during the last episode, I think, or the episode before last, this is probably going to be a Saturday video. Y'all really seem to want to hear some wrestling stories, so I have got wrestling stories. I have put out feelers to see if I can find video. I never recorded myself when I wrestled there, but I have been recorded. I just don't know who's got the videos or where they're at right now. I'm reaching out to Louisiana, to my old secretary, to see if she can come up with anything. But anyhow, we got stories, so I thought I would tell the story today. Now, this happened 2005 or 2006. It's been 19 or 20 years ago that this happened, but I got a call one day from a guy named Danny Rose, who I was in a stable with called the Thoroughbreds. And he said, do you got any events coming up? And I said, yeah. I said, actually, I've already booked a show for ECWF. I'm going to be running a show in the Copper Basin. I was probably about a month out from the show, and he said, we have a young lady here who is severely handicapped, and this girl probably at the time was 6 or 7 years old, and they had been helping her family try to get a handicap accessible van. Now, if any of y'all have ever had to deal with a handicap accessible van, you know those things are not cheap whatsoever. And everyone who knew me knew that I promoted charity shows. Most of my shows were charity events to raise money to help people. So I said, yeah, I'd be more than glad to help. He said, I'll be bringing her and her family with me when we come for the show. I said, all right. So I reached out through MySpace. Yes, this was MySpace days. I put the event on MySpace. I put down what it's for, and I had a bunch of other promoters reach out. Some of them were like, if you want us to try to do a show after yours, we will. And I had a couple of local to me promoters reach out and say, hey, if there's anything we can do, let us know. I said, okay. I said, why don't we just co-brand this? And what that means is it's my event, but you bring me a match. Danny was going to bring a match or two with him. And I told this other promoter, I said, I'm going to have an 8-match card. On this wrestling card, I'm going to have 8 matches. And I said, y'all just bring a match and we'll tell them we will give y'all some publicity for y'all's wrestling company. And you could just come in here and we'll just have this show. So he said, okay, that sounds like a plan. So let me get around this guy in the dump truck here. But it ended up being, I think I ended up with 3 matches on the card. 3 of the 8 were going to be my matches. And I was promoting a huge double main event. So the first call went out. I was going to be in a tag match. It was going to be me and the Scorpion against Mike Rhodes, Beef, and Bowers. And we were going to do a super big tag team match. At the time, I was the ECWF champion. So now I'll tell you about Havoc, which is really who this story is about, is a guy named Havoc. I've been knowing Havoc pretty well much ever since we were kids. We went to school together. I got into wrestling before he did, but he was always a big wrestling fan. So he came to me and he said, are you going to book me for your show? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And I told him, I said, I would actually like you and Dallas Stream to go over in the main event. Now, Havoc is a great guy, good worker. And I said, okay. I said, yeah, you and Dallas. Now, him and Dallas were good friends. They even roomed together. Did a lot of wrestling together. They traveled from show to show together. And he said, I've got an idea for a match. Now, let me pause right here to talk about Havoc just a little bit. Havoc he was a daredevil. He loved to have crazy matches. So when he said, I've got an idea for a match, you got to think at this time that he asked me or said that, we're only just a few months removed from this guy setting up he got on top of a 4 or 5 story set of scaffolding and jumped off. So I said, Havoc, I don't have any scaffolding for you to jump off of, brother. He said, no. He said, I want to have a tables match. Now, at its face, a tables match isn't that bad of a match. Out of all the specialty matches that you can have, cage match, tables, ladders, and chairs, ladder matches, a table match on its face isn't that bad of a match. So I was internally thinking, okay, we can do a tables match. I said, okay. I said, we can do a tables match. I'm pretty sure there won't be no problem with that. He said, well, this tables match is going to have a twist. My heart sank again. I was like, oh God, now what? He said, I want to have a flaming table match. Meaning, before his opponent drives him through the table, they're going to set the table on fire. Now, I'm having this event, mind you. I'm having this event in a school, the Copper Basin School, just to be exact. And I said, dude, I said, Havoc, I've got to, I said, man, he said, think about it, T. He said, that's going to be a great match. He said, it'll look good for your company. It'll work for the event. It's going to be great. So I was like, okay. So I told him, I said, well, first thing you've got to realize is before I can book you in this match, I've got to go through some hoops first. I said, the first hoop I have got to go through is I've got to get the facility, meaning the people at the school, to agree to a flaming table match. I said, secondly, I've got to make sure I can get EMTs. I'll have to have a fire truck present, which I was a member of the fire department at the time, and so I wasn't worried about the fire truck. So he said, cool. I said, but don't get your hopes up. Because to be honest with you guys, I kind of thought that the facility would say no. So you fast forward about a week, and it's about 2 weeks out from the event. Now, I was big about doing autograph sessions at these events. Like when I went to the school, took some free tickets to give out. They were bought and paid for to give out to the kids at school. I'm passing out flyers. We're putting flyers in all the kids' backpacks, sending them home with them. So the principal comes walking by, and I said, Mr. Bigelow, I got to talk to you. He said, okay. And I said, Havoc, which I used his real name. He said, oh man, what's he want to do? I said, well, he's wanting to have a tables match. He said, okay, well, that's probably not too bad. I said, no, on its face, it's not that bad of a match. I said, it's really the less of all the evils. I said, but it's a twisted match. I said, there's a twist in this match. He's wanting it to be a flaming table match. Now, he kind of side-eyed me, and I said, before I go any further, I'll explain this. I've got the fire department on board. We're going to have a fire truck stationed right outside the door. The side door, we're gonna have a hose already off of it. But I told him, I said, this fire is not gonna be that big. I said, really, the fire will go out as soon as he hits the table. The concussion that he causes when he comes down, the wind turbulence will put the fire out. I said, so, and I said, it's going to be contained inside the wrestling ring. And I said something that I didn't know was true or not, but I said, and wrestling canvas will not burn. I've never seen wrestling canvas burn. So he said, all right. He said, you know, you've assured me of everything. I said, it'll be fine. I believe we're not going to have any issues. I said, and it's a main event. I said, so he said, okay. He said, I will go ahead and approve it now. He said, but I will have to talk to the board about it. He said, but I don't think there'll be any issues. And I was like, cool. So I call Havoc and I say, all right, you've got your match. As far as I know, nothing's going to change. You've got your match. He said, all right. So Havoc immediately goes into 10th gear. And him and Dream are putting this thing together now. About 3 days before this event, Dream reaches out to me, Dallas Dream. And he said, man, he said, can we talk? I said, yeah. He said, I'm worried about this match, man. He said, I've done 100 table matches. He said, a table match ain't nothing. He said, but I've never lit a table on fire and tried to drive somebody to it. And we kind of talked about the risks that would go along with the match, the pros, the cons, and I told him, I said, Dream, I said, if you don't feel comfortable doing this match, brother, I said, we won't do the match. He said, man, he said, Havoc's got his heart set on it. So as the promoter of the show, I have to take a certain amount of responsibility for what happens to people. Because I booked the show, I'm promoting the show, and for my 3 matches, I'm shot calling the show. I'm wearing all 3 hats this night. So you fast forward to the day of the event. Everybody shows up. All the workers show up. All the other promoters show up. We're getting everything lined up. I've got the card. Everything is everything. And before that, Dallas had asked me, Dallas Dream, he said, I know it's going to put you on a spot, he said, but I want you in the ring. He said, just in case something goes left, he said, will you referee the match? And I said, I'd be honored to referee the match. And to be honest with you, it kind of relieved me to be asked to referee it. Because I would be in the ring if something happened and I could immediately deal with it right then. So all the matches go off without a hitch that night. My match went phenomenal. Me and Scorpion had a great tag match against Mike and against Bowers. Now it's time for the Flaming Table match. Everybody's in the ring. The match is going great. That night, Dream and Havoc were on. They were doing moves I didn't even know they knew. But they were tearing it down. Guys, we had 426 people packed in that small gym. That's not counting the wrestlers' families. That's not counting my staff that was working. That's just screaming Saturday night wrestling fans. So we went over to sign, and we got toward the end of the match, and I went to Dream, and I said, all right, you got to put him down. I said, it's time to get the table. Now keep in mind, guys, I had a table designated for this match. I had a table set to the side. There was 2 tables out there just in case, but the other one I really didn't think we were going to need it. So Dream sets Havoc up, puts him down, sets up the table in the corner number 4 because he's going to power bomb him off the second rope through the table. Match is over. Take it home. That's a term for finish the match. Dream lights the table, grabs a hold of Havoc, And right before he hits, the flame goes out. So now you see my predicament. Dream strutting around the ring, raising his arms, and I'm waving him off. And he came to me and he said, "What?" I said, "You didn't win that match." He said, "What do you mean I didn't win the match? This wasn't a called spot." I said, "Dude, we can't tell these people we're going to have a flaming table match and not deliver." He said, "I lit the damn table on fire." I said, "The fire went out before you ever power bombed him through the table." And Dream went, "Oh my God." So, pull out table number 2. Put Havoc down again. Now, I'm not really paying attention to Havoc at this point because I'm busy watching Dream. Dream has a pretty good sized bottle of the Ronsonol yellow lighter fluid. And guys, when I tell you he drowned this table in that lighter fluid, there was puddles of lighter fluid on the table. During this, Havoc is blown up in the ring. He's out of breath, he's tired. They've had a great match. So Havoc pulls his shirt off. All that back meat exposed. Guys, when Dream lit that table, there was a black plume of smoke up on the second rope. He powers bomb Havoc through the table. Havoc comes up screaming bloody murder. Guys, I did not know that there was a thin layer of plastic covering that table. I had no clue. The fire melted that plastic, and guys, this plastic is melting through Havoc's back. The fire went out, but that hot plastic is still eating its way through his back. He ended up with 3rd and 4th degree burns. So I end the match, Dream wins. Havoc is screaming bloody murder, as he should. So, not knowing what to do, I just wave for the EMTs to come in, and I wait for Dale to come in. And one of the EMTs said, "Man, that plastic's got to get hard." He said, "As long as that plastic's gooey, it's going to be bad." He said, "The only way I know to harden that plastic is to pour water on it." Havoc screams out, "Pour water on me now." So they did. They cooled the plastic off. He quit screaming. He said, "Oh my God, that feels so much better." 3rd and 4th degree burns from the flaming table match in the Copper Basin. Guys, I felt about that tall because I promoted it, I booked it, I allowed the match to happen, but nobody knew. And I went to Havoc right after that was over. We had the after the show meeting. And I said, and I was apologetic, brother. I said, "Brother, I'm sorry. I had no idea." He said, "It's not your fault." He said, "It's not Dream's fault. It's not even my fault." He said, "Who knew?" He carried that around proudly, as he should have. He earned that because Havoc was a little bit of a hardcore guy around here. If you needed a good hardcore match, everybody knew you called Havoc. So, the moral of that story is that there's a thin layer of plastic on a folding table that will melt you 3rd and 4th degree burns. But man, Havoc, after all of that was over, we got Havoc in the ambulance. We sent him to the hospital. About 20 minutes after he left in the ambulance, here come Havoc's dad. Now, at the time this happened, I'm a little older than Havoc. At the time this happened, Havoc's probably 27 years old. I looked up and I seen his dad come through the door, and I'm like, "Oh my God. What do you mean having him in a match where he gets burned up?" And I'm finally got him calmed down. I said, "Dude," I said, "you know, he kind of came at me hard." And I told him, I said, "He's 27 years old. He's not a baby." I said, "He's a wrestler. And I said, he's fine. I said, he didn't have no scarring or anything that was really bad. They were able to graft it and fix it. He had insurance to pay for it. But my hat was off to those guys, because when I told Havoc and Dream about the event itself, they were over the moon. Havoc was already over the moon. He was so happy with that match. But guys, we raised $8,500 that night, which put the family over the limit they needed to get the van. So we were able to get that family that handicap accessible van. So we were over the moon. When I say I was over the moon, I was over the moon. So that's just one of the stories, but we'll see. I might end this video after this, but I'm headed somewhere right now, so I'm going to see how this turns out. But y'all hang tight for just a few minutes. We'll be back. All right, take two. Y'all ain't going to believe this, and I should not tell on myself, but I'm fixing to reshoot everything I just shot because I deleted every bit of it. I don't even know how I done it. But I'm at the Hillbilly Compound in North Georgia, and I was just riding along minding my business, and I got attacked by a wild hillbilly. But we're up here. This weekend is the Georgia Grundle Run, and I've been here for a little while hanging out. We've got Saddle Tramp.
Oh, hey, look what it is.
Yeah, let's
Hey, how you
turn it
guys
around.
doing? You guys
And then we
wanna check
got our Chopper Rob, our Chopper Rod, which Fedge is supposed to be coming.
it? In theory,
Bring.
yeah.
I can't do it like he does it. But we'll meet everybody real quick. It's been a long day, guys. Y'all just have to forgive me. It's been a 14-hour day of working, and I'm starting to get dark now, and I ain't ate no supper. I'm about ready to go home and eat. So I'll tell on myself I deleted every bit of it. So we're going to go around. Now, we got Beth. Beth don't have a channel. Do you have any social at all that you do anything on for people to follow you?
No.
No? I'm trying to remember. Charlie. And then Ryan. Who's Dwight? Where's Dwight at?
He's not here yet.
He's not here yet. Oh, okay. And then
The Adventurous Rider.
the Adventurous Rider.
And
Charles and Charlie. And then y'all seen him on Shade Trees videos, all over Shade Trees videos. Jeff? Jacob. Yeah. Yes, honey, I'm sure I'm in Georgia. I'm right here. Ain't no other women around here.
I ain't spent too much time.
Oh, man. But guys, I don't know. Like I said, I got to figure out where I'm at on this video. Not delete any more footage. I may have deleted the whole thing, but I know I deleted the last thing. And I was talking about a minute ago, most popular bike here, and of course this is the Tramp. This is Saddle Tramp's bike. Y'all follow his channel. Y'all seen this bike a million times. He just rode this bike all the way to North Georgia. Hey Tramp, how many miles is it from where you came from to here?
He said 440 miles.
440 miles and just cruise right along like it wasn't nothing. But now I'm going to try to get out of here and get back on the road and not delete anything else. So y'all just think. All right, guys. As you can see, it's starting to get laid out here. Good time hanging out with Saddle Tramp, Hillbilly, and all those guys here at the compound. Give them a little bit of third gear salute. But that's the wrestling story, guys, with some special guests thrown in there. Would have liked to have stayed and filmed longer, but I'm gonna lie, I ain't gonna lie to you today, guys. I'm on a busy week this week. I'm on a 14-hour day today. I'm ready to go home, eat me a big bowl of homemade chili that R1 made, and I'm gonna hit the shower, hit the bed, and I'm gonna call it a day. But if you do here, go backwards from here. If you like what you see, watch some of the other videos. If you like what you're looking at, if you think that we might be right for you, consider hitting that subscribe button and becoming a member of the Rolling with T-Bone crew. This will be a Saturday video, I'm certain. But guys, until the next time, y'all take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and hey, thanks for watching.